The Protestant Reformation touched people across the world and also across time. One instance is early on, there was a young Scottish student at St. Andrews University who lived in St. Andrews, Scotland. And Scotland was a Catholic community. And they were having rumblings of a Reformation that eventually would come under the influence and leadership of John Knox. But Patrick Hamilton, a young student in his early 20s, heard about the Reformation and left St. Andrews University and came to Wittenberg to study under Luther and his leaders, and went back to Scotland and started preaching justification by faith alone and not works. And he did it in the face of the Catholic Church, which in essence turned on him and found him guilty of heresy and burned him alive in Scotland. Now what's significant is that in St. Andrews there's a plaque on the cobblestone road outside of St. Andrews University with the letters P.H., Patrick Hamilton. And students to this day will not walk on that plaque until they graduate in honor of Patrick Hamilton, who was really the first martyr in Scotland during the Reformation. But fast forward, there was a man named Michael King Sr., and he had a son that was born in the late 20s named Michael King Jr. And Michael King Sr. was a Baptist pastor and went to a convention in Germany in the 1930s. And while there, he saw the incredible influence that Martin Luther had on the Protestant movement. And that was much information that he did not know about. It was unfamiliar to him. But he was so influenced by what Luther did in the Reformation and how he saw Luther standing against the Nazis in his movement in the 30s. He came back to the States and changed his name and his son's name from Michael to Martin Luther. So Michael King Sr. became Martin Luther King Sr., and his son became Martin Luther King Jr., the great reformer in the United States. And it was almost a prophetic change of name to call his son Martin Luther King, who became a major player in the civil rights movement. Now, people used to ask me all the time, why did you name your church after a civil rights leader? And I said, well, actually we didn't. Martin Luther actually named his son after the great reformer Martin Luther. But that's a little bit of information I thought you might find interesting, that Martin Luther King Jr. Was named after this great reformer in Germany by his dad, who was influenced by all that he did to change the world.